Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LJL 2021 Spring Split. We have one final game of the day to go. This one will be Sengoku Gaming versus Rascal Jester. Sengoku right now sitting at 7-6. They're going to want to try and push for one more win to try and match up with V3 Esports best as they can and fight for that third place spot. To do that, Nightmare, they've got to go through Rascal Jester.
They do. So, not as much on the table for Rascal Jester as there is for Sengoku, because with Rascal Jester taking that last win and having the 2-0 head-to-head over V3, it means that even if V3 were to go 2-0 later in the day, well, they would still lose in the head-to-head and be shunted down to third place. Third place is not actually secured for them, though, for if they were to lose and, well, Sengoku to win, they would have to be put into a potential tiebreaker because they do have a 1-1 head-to-head. So actually, this is looking to be a bit of a spicy top of the table clash with some stakes to be held.
Yeah, but for all that, Rascal Jester just came off a win. It was relatively close. Axis again with a strong early game, and the Jesters dropping some kills early on in some awkward places, but still where the power matters, namely with Sol, with some of these other guys, Kinatu as well, having a pretty solid game. This team of Rascal Jesters, even when it's looking tough, still look very commanding in these team fights. And Sengoku just threw away a 10,500 gold lead. Can they do it versus the Jesters, Mexi?
Absolutely, they could throw a 10k gold lead versus the Jesters.
Can they convert it into a window? Perhaps it's more what I would have to. I appreciate the call.
I don't know if they'll actually win it though. Now this time around, there's a bit of a difference in the caliber of player between the two. I don't think Rascal Jester will throw a 10k gold lead. Rascal Jester basically showed that they can win a game when the whole time they're behind on gold. And the enemy team is just always able to find ways of getting more gold. And Rascal Jester like, we can funnel ours. We can actually direct the flow of gold far better. And that's actually a weird thing to think about. Is that going to be like another meta thing in the future? Directing gold flow. Oh, God. Sounds horrible.
The thing for me is both of these teams have really put the pressure on their bot laners. So,
Yes,
it's like, okay, directing the gold flow, they can win from a deficit. Yeah, but that's because certain roles are ahead, and they're actually the strength of both these teams is actually in the same role, I think.
It has, of course. We have seen Sengoku look to be a little bit more flexible and play through paths as well. It nearly worked out in the last game, of course. They got very, very far ahead that night. Was split pushing very well, but some of the team fighting in the late game, not quite there, partly compositionally, partly positionally. And for Sengoku, Nightmare, what do you want to see them correct so they don't end up doing foolish things like dropping that 10,500 gold? Is it just a matter of being a little bit more... what's the word? Decisive in the late game.
I'm not sure it's necessarily about well, part of it is decisiveness, yes, because it's a combination of not being decisive with inflexible frontliners, right? Because you have to have, if you're playing around stuff which, like, Udyr is not the best late game frontline. He can get kind of like crushed through by double AD carries, and if you're playing something like a Mega Gnar, yeah, you have to be Mega Gnar in the middle of things and have stuff like your Stride Breaker and your Flash available to hold up the real peak of what you can do as a zoning frontline on that Gnar. If you can't do that, then you need to go back to something slightly more reliable. Maybe something like Scion is what you want to be doing. But then the problem with that is you can't play so much strong side with that. It's if you're going to play with an unreliable frontline, you got to be decisive. I think I'd agree with you there.
Okay, so Sengoku Gaming just a little bit more decisive in that late game, especially if they go for the picks they are. At this point, ladies and gents, I am going to have to ask you for a prediction. Who are you expecting to come out on top, Lexi?
This is a tight one, because while we've been kind of like, oh, well, Sengoku Gaming, they just had a crazy game, or Rascal Jester, they just showed that even against a team that is lower in the standings, that they can find the victory. I'm going to go with my prediction. I can see it going both ways because of the game we just saw from Rascal Jester versus Axis, but I'm gonna stick to my gun. Rascal Jester should win this.
Nightmare?
I think coming into this week, Sengoku are the underdogs in this matchup. It's not a huge underdog. I think it tops out at about 60-40, maybe 65-35, right? But that's because Rascal Jester are on an 8-game win streak. They've forgotten how to lose. On the other side, though, I do think that Rascal Jesters, their bot lane, is not going to have free reign versus this bot lane. Heck, they ended up getting 2v2 killed by Axis' bot lane too, right? I think that Sengoku have themselves a lot of strengths to play around, but that last game does put doubt into it. I'm still going with Sengoku because it's what's on my prediction sheet, though.
All right, so we've heard the slightly divided answers here. Jesters are at 8 wins. Bit of a cursed win streak number here in the LJL. It's been the bane of many, many teams over here over the last couple years. But to see how it actually plays out and what could be quite a tight game, well, I'll leave it to Mass1 and Nightmare to take it away for the cast.
Thank you. Initialize Rascal Jesters facing off against Sengoku in the final coverage of the LJLOU live broadcast coverage. And obviously, though, we've already done all of the other 4 games after this one, so if you're interested, check out our YouTube in the next 24 hours. Kinatu in the top lane for the Rascal Jesters, Hachimecha in the jungle, Recap in the mid lane, Soul and Secret in the bot lane, though.
And their opponents in their last game of the regular split will be Sengoku Gaming. They were second place in spring, finished up pretty high up the standings in summer as well. And there's this time with a different roster. They're coming in with Paz, Crash, Ramune, Gango, and Enti.
Very different roster, only NT carrying that across, but he's always been in the top 3 since he's really been in the league, so hey, let's see if he can keep that reign of supreme going. Few bans have come out, 3 jungle bans so far, Olaf, Nidalee, and Udyr. Seraphine has been banned, the most broken champion in the game, according to most analysts. Gragas, which is more of a top lane support ban, no longer mid, no longer really jungle, and Skarner is being banned out. Lilia is still available, and importantly, both these teams' most played champion is Gnar, and we're going to see Rel be locked in first for Rascal Jesters. It'll be interesting to see where that Gnar is going to come in, because I'd be surprised if both these top laners don't want to call it.
Both these players do play that. No, you're right. I mean, the question is, well, do you think that there's a counter pick on the other side which you're gonna get kind of pushed around in with that? Because remember, Camille hasn't been banned. That's not a first round ban for here right now. As you're saying, I mean, Hachimecha, I think it's most played champion of all time is that Skarner. It is worth that ban. And Arel being passed through the draft is an important consideration, because pretty much every player in the support role has had good performances on the Rel. It's a champion which allows you to strut your stuff. You get to control the tempo of the game, and you are often the one choosing your own fights. This time it's not going to be the Alistair coming in for this engaged support. Of course, it is going to be that Rel, and it's alongside the Jinx once again for Sol.
Okay, so I think Soul is currently on a... I need to now go back and look at some of these weeks now and go, wait a second, does this man just play one champion a week? And it's just like, that's why... He's just like, oh, I'm going to play back-to-back Jinx games. Now, we see, interestingly enough, potentially for Kinatu in this top lane, the Volibear. And the reason I say that is because in my head, Bwipo was the last big player to really pull out the Volibear. We've been seeing Volibears worldwide, so
there's
top
a chance
lane, right?
of jungle. There's a chance of jungle.
Guess,
either way,
right?
I think this is why it's important, right? Because Sengoku will have to counterpick. Well, they'll have to blind pick one of their solo lanes. There aren't too many picks which go between mid and top. This Volibear being left towards either jungle top gives you the ability to kind of say, all right, well, if they lock in a Gnar, I don't really care what they lock in. Of course, Paz is a big player of the Renekton too. Volibear beats Renekton. Now he's kind of saying, all right, maybe this is forcing Sengoku to pick themselves something like a Gnar, saying, actually, if we pick Renekton, this isn't great into the Volibear. That maybe allows Rascal Jester to flex that then down into the jungle and get themselves a counter pick for that for the Gnar in the top lane.
It's definitely an opportunity to do that flex. We see the Zilean be banned against the Jesters again. They don't want Recap to have that. And if anything, I actually expected it to go towards Ramune, because Zilean with a Hecarim is the lovely speed combo. You just make your Hecarim go even faster. Rammus isn't particularly meta, and the Bearman and Ola and Viking have already been taken off. So and the Skarner as well. So.
And the other side is that actually, you know, having something like a Zilean, when you have a front to back already, when you can zone out with the crescendum turrets of Aphelios around objectives, and also just have the ability to resurrect your front line, that's a really important thing, or of course your back line if they get dived on too. In this kind of game, though, when you have that Jinx, you know that your front line is going to be in danger at some point. And speaking of that, Rascal Jester is saying, all right, we don't want people to dive in. They banned out the Galio, banned out the Camille. They say, we want to have that front to back. We're going to play with the Jinx on the back line.
Normally people pick those champions together, they don't ban them together because they're a combo wombo nation together, but it makes total sense against the side of Sengoku. We
Again, there's the
mentioned that and it's probably going to the side of Sengoku if they have the priority. They've decided actually against it. They're going for the Azir on the assumption that this Volibear is probably going into the jungle, so they want to give counterpick over to Paz and say, hey,
Well, I
if
think
this Volibear does go top, you can have the Gnar and it's still good for you. If it doesn't, if it's going somewhere else, but Kanatsu could never pick it up.
this is the thing, right? So I think that Sengoku were scared to pick the Gnar themselves, thinking, all right, if we pick the Gnar, what happens if Kanatsu gets counterpicked to that? Because we don't want to think that this is the Volibear match and then get duped with that. So this is going to be a Volibear jungle, Gnar going towards the top lane. Yes, it does mean you have to pick that Gnar blind pick. The question is, what does Paz play that can actually counter this Gnar on the top side? Camille's already gone, and Recap gets a chance maybe to reprise that second double marksman combo and have the Corki. Let's say that would have been a very special game to end off the regular split with, of course, myself being an Ahri main would have been very special. On the other side, though, okay, Gnar into Malphite. Malphite can soak up so much pressure on the top side, especially against auto-attack centric carries towards the top lane, can go towards steel toe caps and go towards stuff like Bramble Vest too, and just become this an immovable rock as the champion's identity is in that top side. And now we have to see Rascal Jester. What can you do with this early ganking pick of the Volibear? You actually put a lot of emphasis on it in your draft.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by this Volibear. It almost feels like they've kind of switched halfway through, and I'd really be surprised or interested to see where the Hecarim versus Volibear matchup goes. That is not a jungle matchup I'm particularly familiar with in my eyes. It will assist with obviously the ganking pressure. Obviously, come level 3, level 4, that's when Volibear ganks turn on, and obviously come 6, you can actually dive. You can really dive anybody, and that's part of the power. This is the new Volibear, so this will be the first time I believe we're seeing Hachimecha play this new Volibear, so that's as well going to be a slight change. I'm not too sure how else this is going to go. This is definitely setting up to be an interesting draft. I think this is pretty even from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, Gnar can get ahead of Malphite because Gnar has mixed damage. His hyper proc is magic damage, which means that Malphite doesn't necessarily get the easy laning phase. This is a double carry setup from Rascal Jester. They're playing into a reliable front line. This isn't the Gnar. This isn't the Mega Gnar. Actually, the people with the unreliable front line are probably going to be Rascal Jesters this time, which makes me worried for what Rehab and Soul can achieve in these team fights. In fact, actually, instead of building taking that Gnar towards the top side, I wonder if something like a Scion would have been better for the side of Rascal Jester, because now they have to play around that Gnar that may win against the side lane matchup, but loses you a little bit of efficacy in team fights.
Pick. I think obviously there is the assumption that they do need to have a frontliner, and that we've seen mostly Kanatu play that Gnar, this is his 6th game on. Outside of that, it's been 3 games of Aatrox, 2 games for Renekton, and then a game of Camille, which they banned. Silas, which we saw last game, and it worked out rather effectively. And 1 Volibear, so that's why it was always that flex pick.
Well, on the other side, speaking of that Volibear, I just did a little bit of digging myself. Hachimecha has played Volibear last year.
New Volibear or old Volibear?
Well, new Volibear being the reworked one, right?
Oh, right, sure, yeah.
So, I mean, season 10, that would have been the same, the same Volibear, because actually old Volibear was more of a... We saw it briefly in the support role alongside Callista.
It was so good. I loved it.
So, well, I mean, I like what they've done with the new one. But anyway, he played it 4 times. He lost all 4 games.
Not like this, Hachimecha.
So looking to get a win in the column for Hachimecha's Bear Champion pool, and there is a chance that you can get some early ganks off on this Volibear. I mean, we've seen players like Hoglet, for instance, and Axis last year. I remember that game where Hoglet played against Sengoku when they were on their win streak going through summer. Absolutely crushed them with a dominating performance on the Volibear. You can gank stuff like the Azir early into the game. Of course, Corki doesn't have the best gank setup, but that's kind of what Volibear's for. He just pins them in place while someone wails on them. And now we've got Hachimecha having the chance to overturn one of these lanes.
He has got a 100% win rate on the Bear Man himself of Udia, so maybe he's gained some trust in the Bear Nation, and that's going to allow him to finally get the win on the Bear King himself, or the Bear Overlord. I'm not quite sure.
He's a demigod. Freljordian
demigod Bear
thing.
God.
That's
okay. And he hates Anivia, right? That's the law.
Ornn. Yeah, I don't know. He seems like a very angry person in general. I wonder if he's got underlying, stress in his life. And
Maybe
I'd
the
like to
cookie
reach
would
out to him.
help. Look at that doggo. Oh,
Oh,
he's
man,
so
look at that.
cute.
Oh, the butt wiggle. Yes, Recap doing his best to improve the mental of his team, as might need it this game.
They just
But of
won.
course,
They don't need to improve their mental.
the thing about Rascal Jester is that they don't actually have anything to play for in this game. Remember, they're doing it to beat that 8-game win streak, which of course was set by DFM in spring, and then I believe it was V3 in summer. Both of them went 8-0. And then lost on their 9th game. It reminds me of, remember when Fnatic were forever trying to improve their EULCS win streak record, and they were beaten at the last game every single time by Gambit. Gambit wouldn't win the split, but they'd end up winning that match, even though they were a formidable team at that point in the in the EULCS. But that's what we're looking at here. Rascal Jester looking to beat their long-term rivals of DFM in terms of that win streak, and of course beat Sengoku, another more recent rival of them in the LJL.
Currently, Blitzcrank's son does favor the side of Rascal Jesters only very slightly. We are going to be seeing both these junglers starting on their respective red and blue side, both top side, so they will be pathing towards this bot lane. So expect something to happen around level 3, level 4 for these bot laners. But until we get to that point, as it stands, Rascal Jester will have probably a rather preferable early game because, well, Narf bullies Malphite. Why you bully me? Yes, I hear you, Simple. It's not bullying, it's just fair. Corki is fine against farming against Azira.
Corki is there. Yeah, we've had that meme for a while.
Z.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, of course,
both.
Well, this is the thing, right? He's got. So, I mean, this looks bad because he's not leveled up to get the extra HP, and also it's a
Yeah.
Comet Azir. Comet is
There
just
we go.
really annoying to play against Azir in the mid lane. It's often why you see it, and also right now, because you don't get any cooldown reduction from building the Nash's Tooth, you don't see quite as much Nash's Tooth first coming in from Azir. You see a little bit more Leandri's first, which just means that your lane pressure is still very high with that Comet. And
Yeah.
Recap is going to suffer a little bit. Nara, of course, bullying out on the top side, and Hatchmatcher has that early game pressure. So yeah, early game, I think it goes to Rascal Jester. Question is, once you hit, well, 1-2 items, and if Rascal Jester haven't done anything with that early game, that's when things can become problematic for them, because then you've got Malphite, who's holding down side lanes if he's not put behind. Hecarim gets to run in with the ultimate, when that's where things get, difficult, quote unquote.
Very well, it definitely has the opportunity. Paz is being taken very low, but it's exactly as you said. Kanatu is going to have the ability to poke him early game, but Paz is going to be able to stay alive effectively enough. He'll be able to farm, and then eventually, with that Malphite passive, we'll be able to do something. Crash was made very aware that the side of Rascal Justice knew that he was on the bot side, because that blue ward did ping off at the end of while he was clearing off the blue bot. So... No. Oh, he's going in, though. He's still going in at this. And there's Ramune, who did actually recall, but immediately we're seeing teleports coming out from both the bot lane and the top laners for absolutely nothing.
No, so it is just the mid lane. So at the end of the day...
trades.
Yeah, so this is the mid laners recalling to get themselves a back anyway. So it's not necessarily them blowing teleport for anything else. The top laners aren't teleporting into that fight. In fact, they're teleporting back to lane. This is what we see out of solo laners a lot right now. It's more the fact of, because there's this weird duality of, oh, I can choose not to teleport back to lane because I don't need to, and I can save it for a later fight. But then that means you desync your teleport timers, and that's where a lot of really bad fights come in for teams. When you have a teleport, or rather you don't have a teleport and the enemy does. Got a regank in mid lane. Ramune doesn't have the combo.
Immediately stunned. One up, comes down. The shield is on there, and they can keep forcing this. Hachimech is a tanky boy, and Recap gets the kill. Secured first blood over to the side of Rascal Jesters, and Ramune is the one to give it to them.
Oh, Hatchimecha blocks out the shifting sands, the E, by using his body, of course. His ear stops on the first champion hit, and the stun comes through. Flash away, not nearly enough, and the pressed attack, early damage coming out of Volibear, and as we were saying, Corki doesn't have the best gank setup, but has the damage to follow up regardless. What happens here? This is after Ramune is teleported back into lane already, and yeah, as you see, he tries to get out on the soldier, doesn't quite angle it correctly. Hatchimecha flashes in to get the stun, and also ignore that. Well played by Hatchimecha, and this is what we were saying. Rascal has to have the better gank options early in the game. Question is, how much are they going to gain from it, and will it get them enough relevancy into the 1 to 2 item power spikes where they can start taking team fights with their gold advantage?
Both of these junglers did power towards the bot lane, but neither of them were able to do anything around it. It was just that Rift Herald, well, it was just Shelly that they were fighting over. Nothing actually ended up coming from it. Recap pops a ward over and goes, hey, that's where Crash is. At least we now know where the enemy jungler is. Crash is piling towards this bot side. Recap tried to go for the crash down, missed everything. Enti getting everything gone to him, though. They haven't thrown out the hook, but they're going to keep it. Crash is down here. They're going to be fishing. They're going to try and clear this wave as effectively as possible. But as it goes, Gango is just going to have to reset back. Soul and Secret are standing here, and Secret has stayed most notably. But Crash is wandering off.
Super dangerous to fight against a Aphelios Thresh whenever you have the root gun, the Graviton Purple, whatever you want to call it, because that gives you the dedicated ability to start putting that death sentence without having to worry about the accuracy of it. Secret takes the ignite out of Enti, but what this just means is that he's low enough HP that he can't end up leaving the lane looking for vision as his AD carry resets. In fact, they're not looking for a reset right now. But Sengoku, in this bot lane, where of course Soul and Secret have been so powerful, find themselves a bit of an edge.
Finding a small edge there. Recap has also been rather able to farm somewhat effectively, even after getting that kill on the Azir, has been able to catch up with Ramune, and now we're going to just see the same thing happen over and over again. Which of these two mid laners can farm more, and then maybe find a way to win this? Kanatu is 6 and getting a lot of damage onto Paz just through free trades and jumping in and out and weaving in the auto attacks.
Yeah, so, I mean, the thing about the current Corki Azir matchup is that it is slightly different from what it was before. It is slightly more interactive because there's more early damage from items. Because you see, again, the Leandries and the poke coming out of Azir means that actually Corki is on is on low HP for a lot of the laning phase. And it's also going to be more like an Essence Reaver start from Corki. He has crit. He has an early Sheen Spike. It's not quite the 24 Sork Boots power spike, but earlier into the game when you're going into the build path, you get more AD, you get that crit value, which means that actually there is solo kill potential in this matchup, even though that's mainly going to be determined again by jungle presence, and you don't often see solo kills in the mid lane rather, in the current metagame, just because there are so many moving parts between the supports leaving lane, as they have done right here, and the junglers being across the map, that you just don't have that many openings to look for stuff in the mid lane.
It currently sounds both these junglers are on the top side, but it looks like it's going to be more of just clearing vision, clearing wards, and also clearing their jungle camps, because hey, they've all started spawning back up, and you've always got to farm more effectively than the other one if you want to get experience gold and to stay ahead. So far, Crash has been absolutely dominating Hachimecha. While Hachimecha has got that assist on his belt, there's a significant CS difference between these two junglers at the moment, and if that continues, it could bring some questions in, but as it currently stands, the gank kind of makes up for a bit of that.
It does. So this reminds me of, well, I mean, there was a conversation around G2 at World Season 10 in terms of, okay, Season 10 Worlds Meta was all about jungle carries. That's why Canyon, the jungler from Down One Gaming, and ended up being so good in that meta because he's so proficient at those carry champions, whereas Yankos on G2 prefers playing around his lanes, right? So what they ended up doing is a couple of times just saying, look, screw the meta, let's go back to Volibear. We'll just start ganking the heck out of our lanes, and we won't have to worry about it if we get far enough ahead. But that is still throwing the gauntlet. That's still being there and saying, all right, you have to make this pay off because you will get out farmed. That's why Hachimetra is forcing the issue once again. He's still only level 6 to level 7, smite disadvantage, but he's looking for a fight.
Kanadu has come forward. Crash is coming in. That's immediate knockup. Malphite ultimate coming in. The package is brought in, but there's not enough. And the Paz is just going lower, gone. And now the side of Sengoku Gaming are collapsing on top of everything. Soul
2v2 kill?
2v2 there. Ramune has also found more and more opportunities throughout this fight. And Hachimecha, Kinatu, Soul, and Secret 4 for 0. And Crash is looking for this final one. He'll probably get this on the recap. That's an ace. That's an extended ace for Sengoku Gaming. And Rascal.
And they get the Herald.
Nothing. They got the Herald as well. Oh my, it's all
huge plays for coming in for Sengoku. So they know that they have a powerful jungler at this point. Hachimetra is there saying, okay, I'm falling off soon. We have to force the issue. We need to get a fight on the board. Well, Hook lands onto Soul. We don't have a Tahm Kench. Level 6. Actually, Thresh has decent burst. Oh, the box is good. Reminder that actually Sengoku doing this with a cull on their Aphelios. What a power move is that? Getting themselves that early trade and then coming through, getting a 2-kill 2v2 after starting a freaking cull on your Aphelios. Gango and Enti styling on Soul and Secret, who we were praising as one of the strongest bot lanes in the LJL.
And what was so well played around that is the lantern that was thrown so
Yeah,
early on
flash
throughout
forward.
that fight, flashing forward, allowing Gango to keep both his summoners, and then both of them body blocking Secret on his walk out because he had dismounted. He was no longer on his horse. He's so slow, and because of champion block in a way, it's not even creep block, it's champ block, wasn't able to find any realistic path out. Decided not to use his flash because hey, he knew he was dead to right at that point. So hey.
Yeah,
Well
that's the kind of
played.
play where you're looking like using creep block to your advantage while yourself being the creep is saying more like the champion block. That feels like the kind of thing you see out of these hotshot Korean challenger players, which
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you see it on the highlight reel. You're like, wow, he just flashed between the like over this champion, so they had to walk the other side of them. It's kind of like a lot of the same mechanics you use when you're using a Nivea wall to force people to walk into stuns. You get them to pass the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw the gold leads popping up for individual player. Like Gango is so far ahead now. And this is worrying because you have Sol who is behind, who is not as relevant as they were in that last game, which they ended up winning from that deficit. Now this is the kind of game where you're thinking, okay, Rascal Jester are actually behind. The gold lead is indicative of the power and the strength and power in this game. Hachimecha starting to fall off. Crash absolutely not. Crash had some great combos in that last fight too, by the way. In fact, that last kill, it was really well played. He landed the chilling smite just before he went for the devastating charge, which gave him the steal on the movement speed to give him slightly more AD, gives him slightly more damage on the charge through. He got that huge one shot through after that point, and now with all that gold, he's come back with a 20 CS lead, now a 2-level lead. And Hachimecha, you don't want to be taking fights against Crash.
No, but he will be able to spot him out. There is a 2-level disadvantage or difference between these two junglers, and that's, as you mentioned, going to cause problems. Hook lands there, but Secret walks forward, and immediately Hachimecha's like, well, I've got caught in traps, but let's just hold him and make sure I don't die. Recap is looking for it, able to find it, but then he just takes his life over for it. Hachimecha's trying his absolute damnedest. Another one does fall, but it's the returning it. Gango isn't able to find the return onto Hachimecha, but the crescendos...
The chakrams!
No! Not going to happen this time around. Both these top laners, well, actually, Paz did have his teleport, but decided against it and did not join his bot lane team in all of this action. But Ramune is still around. Shruffle going forward, isn't able to find anything. Shrima shuffled away because he was fearing that there might be a lot of sudden damage coming out. But Hachimecha, Ramune, that's illegal.
He was on vision. He was on vision. He gets another cooldown of his Q coming up, and Hachimecha stays far too long. Rascal Jester win the initial fight in 2-for-1, but with that going back over, Sengoku get themselves a 2-for-2 and some plates involved on the other side of the in terms of the objectives that were secured from that. Importantly, the kills mainly go over to Gango. He gets himself 2 of those kills earlier, of course, but he gets himself another kill and assist from this coming through. Crash takes minion aggro, and yeah, they do have the follow-up damage with having the ignite put down. And Recap goes a little too deep. Gango flashes out, but all this time, he's auto-attacking with the chakrams. He's switching over to his to the red gun to start getting that onslaught down, which stacks up the chakrams even more. Just means that every time he's auto-attacking or using his abilities, his DPS threshold is going up and up and up. And that's why you saw them have to retreat on the tower, even though they're stick around.
And if you thought out there that Sengoku Gaming was strong already, you have no idea. Leandries, Trinity Force, and Kraken Slayer have all just come out for the side of Sengoku Gaming. They are more than happy to keep doing these team fights, and we haven't even lost the turret plating. I'm very much interested to see how much money has been funneled into the side of Sengoku Gaming through this turret plating. Obviously, we know 4 has gone in the bot side, and currently it's 3, looking close to be. I don't think they quite got that second, that last and final plating there. But look at that, 3.
That's
4,
plus 1k from plays. Plus
Just
1k from plays, all things said and done. And that's onto, I mean, in terms of, you know, what you were saying in terms of how do these teams funnel their gold onto certain players? Well, looks like Sengoku are doing a really good job of funneling their gold onto Ramune and Gango. Got production coming through with some stats for particularly Gango on Aphelios, because, you know, we know that this guy is super good on this champion. when they were playing versus even Burning Core, when Burning Core tried to set up vertical jungling and Gango just kind of said nope, slapped him around in the 2v2, what we can see is that from plays like that, Gango has earned himself 100% CS differential positive at 15. He's ahead all the time. He's on average 25 CS up on this champion at 15. That leads to about a 1.5k gold lead because of the pressure, the fights that happen around him as these teams try to bail out their own bot lanes against that Aphelios. Gango, one of the best Aphelioses in the LJL, but we could have told you that already. We've seen so many highlight reel plays from this guy.
This is in his 4th game, 3 games before this, and remember, this is a 2-1 record with this kind of stats. Like, this is an insane performance. Even when he loses a game, he's still ahead in every other avenue till the team end up losing the game. I'd be very interested in actually figuring out which game he actually did lose that on.
Dive coming in.
But it's huge one coming in. Dive coming in. Hachimecha jumps in. Anti, you're just in the middle of nowhere. But you got fun there. Hachimecha's going to be traded forward, and Paz is now getting engaged on. Kanadu is finding the 1v1 and will probably find that. Yeah, he does. He does. Kanadu gets a 1v1 on Paz and gets the trade there. Crash is able to get the Rift Herald, and I think that's everything.
So Paz dies for the teleport cancel. That is such selfless play because if Meganar comes through and they manage to actually get something onto Gango, that shutdown is huge for the side of Rascal Jester. You can see the teleport. He goes immediately right in and says, all right, okay, I'll just go for this. Kanasi, though, quick fingers. Meganar's him right into turret and gets him 2 free turret shots. That's the damage, which means that Paz cannot turn around in any sense of the word. And however, though, of course, Crash was taking his Herald at the same time. That means that actually Sengoku take themselves the first tower of the game in that mid lane. Mid lane out of turret down for a control mage is an awkward spot to be in. So Sengoku taking themselves multiple objectives and multiple advantages throughout this game. Of course, they will be losing their top lane out of turret, but I think they're less worried about that one.
Yeah, trading for this dragon in the bot side, and the bot lane of Sengoku Gaming are already well and truly prepared. Remember, they got 4 turret plates down in that bot side, so they are looking to just finish off this turret in the bot side, trading it for their top side as well. And with that, they will have momentum. We're going to be on an Ocean Soul Rift, and this is great for when you look at the champion pool of the side of Sengoku Gaming. They've got a Malphite, tanky, rock solid. They're more than happy to last the team fight for ages. Crash on this Hecarim, again, more than happy to do this. And Thresh, again, another champion. Obviously, Ramune and Gango will be more than happy to have passive lifesteal, not lifesteal, regen, and obviously the mana coming back for Ramune. Yep. That sounds great. That's awesome. But it's really the big front line, the tanks of the side of Sengoku Gaming. They're going to love this opportunity. Yeah. And we're seeing even items coming in for NT there. The Shorelia oh no, it's not Shorelia. That's the other one.
The Locket. That's Locket the Ancillary.
Yeah.
It's not going to be. Whereas on the other side, we've got the Sunfire Aegis being built up by Rel, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I think I mean, the thing is that like Ocean Soul is just so annoying when fights go really long. And as you were saying, with a Mountain Dragon to back it up too for the side of Sengoku, they really are hammering towards that. If they do get themselves an Ocean Soul, this Malphite and this Hecarim in particular are going to get right into the thick of things, and they're going to be very much enjoying that extra regen. Of course, the mana regen was removed from Ocean Dragon a little while ago because having just a single Ocean Dragon meant that in early lane, if you're taking bad trades, you could just continually just regen up, and it just meant that people like Vladimir and, not on the mana regen side of things, but champions like Azir in the early game, if they were falling down a bit, would just be like, hey, I suddenly have a lot more mana to play with, and suddenly my laning phase becomes really easy. I'd never considered that before. But,
out of interest, how does it work with energy?
Because energy, it doesn't affect it at all. It doesn't. Yeah. But either way, Ocean Dragon does not give you that regen anymore. It only gives you the HP regen based on your missing HP. And there might be some HP missing as the teleport comes in.
We're seeing who's going to be in here. Immediately, Recap comes in and goes away. Hachimecha ults, but then runs and realizes I'm in the middle of no man's land. I don't want to be here anymore. And Secret is just looking at the rest of his team going, guys, I thought we were going at this. We're not. Kanadu hasn't got a teleportation, so he can't join his team. And he's just left in this bot lane going, guys, I can't help you. They cancelled my TP, remember? Paz stopped me. I can't come. And now Gango is just going to AFK push this. Kanadu will be at least able to trade this. And Kanadu has been the turret pusher. I feel like he's kind of on the wrong champion for this. You want to be on a Camille typically if you're doing split pushing.
Well, Camille was banned. Didn't have the option to do that. The bonus of Nara is that, yeah, you can play strong side and you do have mixed damage. And that does do okay versus the Malphite. Where does this fight go wrong? Soul doesn't get over on the blast plan. That's the first bad thing. Teleport comes in. That can't be cancelled. That's another bad thing. Hachimecha has to tank up the hook. And as we were saying, Volibear has already fallen off. If you don't get the game broken open by this point, well, you're just less valuable of a champion. You don't really get to perform. Get into the fight. Doesn't get any damage down. Sengoku pounced on the opportunity that Rascal Jester so gratefully gave it to them.
And now Sengoku Gaming probably won't want to do anything unless the side of Rascal Jesters give them the opportunity, because they know in 1 minute and 40 seconds now, this Ocean Dragon will come up. That's what they want to play around. They just want to prevent Rascal Jester from having any opportunity of taking the Baron. And, well, they have got an Azir and an Aphelios, so they can do it pretty quickly. And they're actually just going to start it up because they know the side of Rascal Jester are nowhere near them at the moment.
Well, this is the thing. Aphelios is a champion who loves champions running into him. He is so strong. A full item over Sol. Look for the Aphelios to pop off in this fight. He's got the turrets to zone as well.
And he already popped the box there, and Paz just knocks up Hachimecha, goes down. They've already got the Baron, so now it's the side of Rascal Jesters. They're going in. They already do get 1 kill there, and that's Paz down already, but Chakrams are going for it. Kanadi was already
look at that.
fallen, and the 3 members of the rest of Rascal Jesters are so low. Secret is in the middle of them, but Hachimecha is already low. Secret goes low. They do happen to get that, but that hook from Enti, what was that, man? You did that. It's so insane. And that's going to be an ace for Sengoku Gaming. Rascal Jester do it, and Hachimecha, I don't think you're getting this win on the volley bear this time, mate.
I think it's doomed to go 0-5. So, okay, what happens here? Gango is actually cycling through his Severum to make sure he can actually get to the Chakrams next. That's when things get really awkward. Paz stops Hachimecha from getting into the pit, and Gango is ready to fight. He's ready to fight in secret, misses the combo onto the Aphelios. Sure, Hachimecha is kind of in and around, but he doesn't get onto the backline. Gango is free hitting, and he's the most powerful champion in this game by quite a long way. He's free to flash forward. He has Runan's Hurricane. Secret does well to at least get the stun turnaround, but it doesn't stop Gango getting an extra 2 autos after that CC combo ends. And there are enough members of Sengoku to follow up on that wonderful hook as you so wonderfully cast from Enti.
Yeah, that was Get Excited as well. So Sol was moving exceptionally fast, but this dragon is up and they've got the Baron. So they're just like, hey guys, 4 of us have got a Baron. Let's just take this. They can't really come into us because we're so much further ahead. We have a Shrima Shuffle, so we're just going to slowly take it. Crash doesn't even want to use his smite, which wasn't up, may I add. They didn't have smite for that. They just brute forced Rascal Jester off that. And the 5k damage that came out of Gango in that last team fight with, let's just say 2k from both Crash and Ramune is almost close to nothing because of the sheer size. Sol definitely does deserve credit. 4.5k damage coming out from that Jinx, definitely showing that there was a chance, if anything.
Yeah, there was a chance. Yeah, no, Jinx did a good amount of damage on the back end of that. Gets excited at some point, and the extra attack speed alongside 2 items is a lot of damage. Problem is, there's 1 item less than Gango, and the damage you're putting into a lot of those key onto the members of Sengoku are not onto the key members. You're kind of sat there thinking, wow, I wish I could have done that damage to Gango first, and then suddenly there's that damage disparity. It didn't come across, and yeah, I mean, the mid and jungle of Sengoku just outperforming Rascal Jesters in that team fight, though, of course, they were the ones getting engaged into, they got to choose the terrain, and they got to take the fight.
Yeah, now if you look at the XP for levels and everything at the moment, Hachimecha is so far behind his counterpart of Crash at the moment. Crash is well and truly climbing up through the ranks. Sol as well is falling further and further behind to Gango, and it feels like this thread that Rascal Jester need to try and find for this game to come back into it is getting closer and closer and thinner, and it feels like Hercules and his lifeline, it might be getting cut by the sisters of Sengoku Gaming running around this map. Paz is already starting the charge. The Baron buff has just dropped off, but that's a 3k Baron power play, and they're looking to get this. And he finds it? No, not today.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Tried for it, and
Worth your time.
Well, Blitzcrank-san says this game's over, Nightmare. So how are you doing?
Well, you know, I'm glad we managed to finish things early today. 24-minute victory sounds good to me. 99%. I have never seen Blitzcrank. I've seen 98%. I don't think I've ever seen 99% victory chance from Blitzcrank-san.
That is truly an insane moment, and what a last game for us to cover over here on the LJLOU to end our spring split. Obviously, blast from the past streams because it is a necessary evil for time zones and everything else. But with this game, We've just got to wait for this final dragon. I feel like both these teams are kind of just waiting, being patient. Sengoku have no reason to try and accelerate this game any further. It's only 24 minutes in. It's not like it's 34 minutes in where they're like, oh, guys, we need to end this game a bit faster now. It's 24 minutes in, and this has just been decisively picked apart by Sengoku Gaming. And honestly, Rascal Jester haven't played bad, but they haven't played much with Kanatu this game.
Well, Kanatsu's been the focal point for Rascal Jester in terms of winning side lanes. They've managed to take side lane turrets, 2 turrets. Okay, that's not nothing. But the Meganar has just been not easy to play around for the LJL team. Seemingly in this last week, week 7, we've criticized some of the Meganar play coming out from various teams. Now, there's always the chance that Rascal Jester get on top of Gango and nuke him. There is always that chance. The question is that going to be enough if now Ramune, who's sat there coming up to 2.5 items, soon to be 3, is it enough to deny Ramune from getting a good team fight? Once you get Ocean Soul, how much do you have to commit to kill this Aphelios, who is so insanely far ahead, and has to now even build up that stopwatch? I think as soon as Gango completes that Guardian Angel, Rascal Jester's hope of this game in even the Miracle situation becomes just so fleetingly disparate.
I think what we're going to have to hope for is a package plus Rel combo with Kanatu as well. We're going to see a combo wombo coming out of Rascal Jester, which they don't really have built into their team fight, but it's going to have to be it. Are they going to be able to be the Wobblers and find everything like those two Ice Climbers, or will it not be possible? 1 minute is on the clock for this Ocean Drake and Baron in 30 seconds, and we both know that Sengoku are just waiting for the opportunity of Rascal Jester to come into you, because as we've already mentioned before, Aphelios loves it when you walk into him, so he'll just be waiting in any bush, and if you're not there, if you're not ready for it, it could become incredibly awkward. 40 seconds left on this dragon, and 15 seconds on the Baron.
Crash has an angle. They've got... Oh, that's the engage.
Paz has gone straight in. That's immediately the Malphite, but Hachimech is going away, and then they pop the Azir passive. They put the turret up and go, hey, we're zoning you off. And this is Ramune solo doing this against 3 to 4 members of the side. Paz is just AFK kind of preventing it. And the side of Sengoku Gaming have gone, well, we can just kind of take this Baron probably way faster than they can even do anything. And the side of Rascal Jester, they're still pushing up in the mid lane. They're not even thinking about going anywhere. They're not even trying to prep for this dragon. Why are you not prepping for dragons, Rascal Jester? It's open for you. You're going into a choke point. This is exactly what Sengoku Gaming want you to do. And now Sengoku Gaming are prepared. They've got the Baron buff, and now they can just push on this. Hachimech is so low already because of the poke that he's received.
Secret's on a ward. He was looking for a flank. He's on a ward. Well scouted by Sengoku.
And now Sengoku Gaming are actually backing off, but then the moment they see the side of Rascal Jester start doing something, they're like, actually, no, let's fight this. Let's just try and end this. The dragon is going insanely low, but they actually, because of the huge level difference and now the side of Rascal Jester get to absolutely just feel what it's like to be on the opposite side of an absolute obliteration, because Sengoku Gaming are doing it. Crash is just brute forcing everything, and Kanatu, yes, you might be one of the strongest members on the side of Sengoku Gaming, but it's not going to be enough. Sengoku secure Ocean Soul and now look to force everything. Paz, not quite sure what that teleportation was, but hey, maybe you wanted to just go
Game's over.
for a
just
little
gotta
bit
have a party
longer.
with it.
Exactly right. And now the side of Sengoku are going to force the end of this game soon, at least rather than later.
Oh, sublimely played by Gango. Flashes forward to get the kills he needs, and then he stopwatches for the Gnar ultimate, the one thing which might get the turnaround. Sengoku style on the entirety of this game. Let's see if they can finish it off.
Hachimech tried to be cannon fodder, but he wasn't able to do anything. They're going in again. They're up and dashing around. You dismounted. You're not meant to get off your horse there, Rel. But it's going to be another one. Hachimech does perish again. Pad out the KDA, and 7-21. Sengoku Gaming win this one.
They give themselves that lifeline, isn't that if V3 do stumble later in the day, they could actually end up fighting for that 3rd place spot. Rascal Jester, though, they will not get their 9-game win streak. Sengoku cut them off short.
It really is a curse here in the LJL. To get more than 8 wins, you clearly have to give a lot more. But now, with that all said and done, we're going to go over to our analyst desk for the final one for the regular split with Initialize just after this break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LJL 2021. We've had our final game of the regular split. Tiebreakers pending, of course. And this one was a bit of a difference in the bot lane, namely one Gango on one Aphelios. This guy on this champion is just incredible, Nymera.
Yes, he is. He has single-handedly overturned macro states and 2v2 outplays just by being damn good at this champion. Yes, Aphelios is a champion that has been nerfed a lot. He's not as strong as he used to be. Aphelios Thresh is a lane which is a dominant lane given the opportunity and taking a couple of good trades, though. That's exactly what happens. And Aphelios starting Cull just puts Rascal Jester's bot lane just completely under the bus.
Yeah, it does. And Maswat, I do want you to kind of delve in a bit deeper, because it's not just the Aphelios who got ahead. That whole early game from Sengoku was so strong. They get the early Drake, they get the early tower dive. They get a whole 1,000 gold plus from plates. What was going on to get them so far ahead so quickly?
Part of this was just the effectiveness that came out from the bot lane duo, getting that really early kill, getting the 2v2, the global ace that happened in 2 separate feists. Honestly, really opened up the map, because before that, Rascal Jester were honestly about a K ahead, if I remember rightly. They had that first blood, and it looked like everything was going really well, because they were playing around the Rift Herald. Paz, Crash, and Ramune versus Kanatu, Hachimecha recap went the way of Sengoku, and it was clean. No one died on the side of Sengoku Gaming. Because the bot lane also got the exact same thing, they're able to take about a plate and a half, which set up for when they went and end up doing another play down in the bot lane with Crash. They were able to get another 2 more plates, and that's how 4 plates go there. Part of it in the mid lane was just Ramune having a stellar game. Oh no, it wasn't Crash. It was Ramune that came down to get the kill onto Hachimecha, which caused them to get 2 more plates in the bot lane.
And this snowball is incredibly quick. It was incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
This was the other side of Sengoku Gaming. This wasn't quite as controlled per se. It was just foot to the floor, go
Brute
for
force.
it. And yeah, and they can do this style too. And this time they don't throw it away. The Jesters on the other side, though, Nymera, did try and return the favor a couple times. They went for a tower dive down bot of their own, but kind of get something out of it. It was like the one kind of half okay look, but I don't think it was enough.
So, I mean, they tried something different by putting the Volibear in early and holding it as this kind of, hey, we can flex this. You don't want to pick yourself the Gnar because, you can't pick a Renekton. Maybe you don't want to pick a Gnar and then get it, thinking it's a counter pick and then, whatever. But then the Volibear has to go into jungle because the just say, yeah, we'll take the Gnar. That's a sitting pick for us. Kanati's been fine on that, and it's the most played champion for most of the LJL top laners. They get 1 gank off on it in the mid lane, and they get Ramune.
Yeah.
Well played. Yes, they get that Azir down. It doesn't break the matchup, though. Azir is still going to push in your Corki with that Comet build and this current state of itemization. And then Volibear, didn't really get much else done after that point. So then you kind of sat there thinking, okay, what else did they get done in the early game? Kanatu had that 1 solo kill on top lane. Okay, that was well played in response to the teleport cancel of the Malphite ultimate. So they managed to get an extra kill out from that trade altogether. But that's kind of the end of the good news for Rascal Jester. Those are the plays which work for them. After that, Kanatu did some side lane pushing on the Gnar, but it never led to anything for the Jesters. No big plays.
It was a stone in the river, basically, at that point. You're not stopping that deluge coming down, and you kind of called it there. They picked the Volibear. Volibear in the jungle, we were talking about it off-screen, falls off a cliff in the jungle if you don't really break lanes open. You don't have the gold income and the levels to do what a top lane Volibear does, and it really was, in the end, it felt a little bit like that 4v5. Hachimecha's winless Volibear will remain winless, and couldn't get the game rolling, especially after it snowballed so hard against them in the early game where that Volibear was supposed to get ahead. And then you hit this mid game and things get even worse. And I think probably most obvious for that last one was the Baron into Ace for the side of Sengoku Gaming, where once again, Aphelios, Gango just putting out ridiculous damage.
Yeah, so what was really well played by Sengoku Gaming is they just forced a turret in mid lane, I believe it was. They had gotten full control and they were like, okay, kind of going, and I remember casting this and then going, well, Sengoku Gaming don't have to force anything unless the side of Rascal Jesters want to walk into them. So when this Baron does come up with 30 seconds after the dragon coming up, The side of Rascal Jesters are just like, well, what can we do? We'll have to try and find something. They walk directly into them, and well, that was exactly what the side of Sengoku wanted. They walked straight into them. Huge damage came out of Gango. He only gets 2 kills, which is a bit disappointing. NT steals one of them. Crash gets the other one on the hook that was landed. It was
That's amazing. I love it.
Hey,
No, you're
you
not
got me
wrong.
play-by-play casting.
I'm
This
with you.
is what
I'm with
happens.
you. Exactly. I'm absolutely there with you. And I think there's some absolute truth that Gango getting to flash forwards in a team fight is always a scary thing to behold. And I think the other thing was, you talked about it on cast a little bit there, Nightmare. Soul tried in that fight. He put about 4k damage, but you called it out. It was the item discrepancy. It was just too far gone. And there's 2 scaling picks, and one's just an item behind.
It was, and also, like, you can see the damage numbers coming out of Soul, but you're also firing that into people who just have more HP because they have level and
True
item
enough.
advantages too. So you're like, wow, loads of advantages. Like, yeah, but how many people did that actually mean? Like, how close is that to actually winning the team fight? Well, Gango was like completely shredding people on the front line. Jinx had to work much harder to get anything done and did good work. But then Gango just kind of flashed forward. I think Secret had a good fight too, and actually good, because like if that stun didn't come through onto a fellow else, that fight is like a clean ace, and game ends off that. It's not just the Baron. I mean, game ended off of a fight not too long after that
No, it did
point.
not.
But like the
Sorry,
other
yes,
thing
it
is that
did.
if Jinx ever has to run away, you don't really get to do that. You don't get to kite back as effectively. So as soon as you're on the back foot and then Crash is running you down, I mean, the hook obviously seals things off. But yeah, I mean, Soul was just not on the champion for the job at that point. Not after the team fight starts falling away from them. But they really tried. They did a lot of good damage, and we can see. I wouldn't be surprised to see this pick reprise itself in playoffs when we finally see the Jesters turn up there.
Yeah, not quite enough there. It was one Baron fight, and a little bit later it was an Ocean Soul fight, and that was kind of game over. And just a little bit too much gold on the wrong people, and this time there wasn't really the team fight comp discrepancy to make the throw possible. You say that, but who knows? At this point, I do want to take us a step back before we end the day out and saying, okay, this, I believe, sets us up for a potential tiebreaker. Sengoku versus V3 for 3rd place. They get the win. They put themselves in the position to do that. If it is the tiebreaker, V3 versus Sengoku. V3 started the split well, and they've kind of been on a bit of a downward trajectory. Sengoku now are, 4-2 in their last 6? And even one of those games, it was a 10,500 gold lead they had in one of them. So you can put a big caveat next to one of those losses, never mind anything else. So what do we think about that matchup, should it come to pass?
I think that actually where this game is going to be decided is in the support role. Because, I mean, much as Reiner was maybe the best player combined between spring and summer in terms of the support role, maybe even in terms of overall MVP, I'd say, man, he's 3rd at least, right? So you've probably got Boogie and Ari in the first 2, and then you've got Reiner for 2020. Like that, those are your considerations.
Yeah.
He's been support diffed a lot recently. He's been having some good plays, and we've seen the Rel outplays and having the 4-man Magnussons, but he needs to step back up because NT is on fire. NT didn't start the split well. Reiner certainly did. Now they're on opposite trajectories, and this could be where the overlap kind of comes and where we kind of see finally the crossing of those trajectories. And Sengoku maybe taking themselves stealing themselves a position in the table right at the death of the split.
I want to take this in a slightly different direction.
By all
Last 3 weeks in LJL time, meaning 2 weeks, because Super Week.
Yeah, Super Week was, we're with you.
So over the last 3 weeks, V3 Esports have only got 1 win. That is really bad.
That is very poor.
Really, really bad that out of the 6 matches, they've gone 1-5 in recent memory. That would very much set me up to be like, V3 aren't the 4th best team anymore. They're not the 3rd best team. They might be the 5th best team, 6th best team in playoffs. I'm not too confident in their ability, because if you look at like a team like Chris Gaming Act, who at the end of week 4, when V3 were defiantly 2nd place with a 6-2 record, Chris Gaming Act were 3-5. They weren't doing so well. CJ are going to end this with 7-7, V3 ending 8-6. Which of these teams do you feel a little bit more comfortable about supporting when it comes to playoff and predicting winners? I'm predicting CGA, so I'm going to predict Sengoku Gaming to be the favorites in the tiebreaker match.
There you go. Completely opposite trajectories as well there.
Results-orientated thinking. Yeah.
But those results are based on some serious issues we're seeing. Sengoku on the rise, V3 on a bit of a downward trajectory. And of course, hang around for some tiebreaks. You might see how it actually plays out IRL. But that will be for another day. And that's one nightmare. Means we have finished our regular season here in the 2021 spring split. Playoffs on the horizon. I'm sure we'll be discussing that a little bit further on. But it's been a pleasure working with you, lads. We're kind of here. It's been a bit of a surprise. Rascal Jester in second. What a surprise. Sengoku looking strong. V3, maybe some issues now. But we've still got a little bit to go. At this point, before we leave you for the day, here will be our playoff teams. DFM will be, of course, up in that first place. And they'll be facing off against Rascal Jester in that juggernaut match when it occurs. First and second teams. And then 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be Sengoku, V3, CGA, and of course the SoftBank Hawks Gaming, who did manage to squeeze their way in. And keep your minds up a little bit. Sengoku and V3, still got a little bit of decision to make there. So we'll keep our eyes on that. We'll discuss that a little bit more, of course, on the podcast. So make sure you're around and listening for that when it comes out. But until then, we'll bid you a very good day, good night, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And hang on for playoffs, because it's going to be a spicy one. See you then.